It began as a light-hearted chat with a colleague at work. We were chatting about bizarre hidden spots online, the sort of shadowy areas you're warned against exploring. He brought up this website that mimicked a matchmaking service, but was tucked away on the dark net, catering to folks with unusual preferences. Later that evening, back at my place, I fired up Tor and entered the URL he'd shared. I wasn't seeking romance. Curiosity just drove me to verify if such a thing was real. The page was simple: dark backdrop, light text, zero promotions, no discussion areas, only user pages. The accounts seemed authentic, with entries that were intensely intimate and oddly genuine, not robotic at all. I browsed casually until one caught my eye sharply. The username was Vera Sheds. Her picture was fuzzy, as if captured on an ancient camera. Her description read, "Enthusiast of change, gatherer of hides, serpents guide me." I chuckled initially, yet her phrasing lingered in my thoughts. What surprised me most was her ordinariness. Sure, she hailed from that murky corner of the web with eccentric inclinations, but otherwise, she came across as relaxed. Snakes fascinated her deeply. When I inquired about her fixation, she explained she respected their ability to rejuvenate by discarding outdated exteriors for fresh purity. I remarked it seemed artistic. Her response, not art, essential. It didn't strike me as odd. She simply had strong passions. Our conversations spanned several days. She shared a snapshot to prove her authenticity. Her manner of speaking was captivating, almost entrancing. When she suggested meeting face to face, I paused. She was straightforward. "I desire an in-person encounter." Despite my reservations, I agreed. Her next note was brief: "I'll arrive this evening." Time passed sluggishly. I tidied my home without a clear reason, glancing repeatedly at windows, corridors, and my device. Near midnight, a single deliberate rap sounded. I cracked the entrance partially. There she stood, as tall as me, draped in a lengthy ebony overcoat despite mild weather. Her locks were sleek and shadowy, but her visage felt off. The epidermis on her face appeared stretched, glossy in spots, textured elsewhere, resembling poor recovery from injury or procedure. Her mouth barely shifted during speech. "Your complexion is appealing," were her opening words. I stiffened. Her grin was unnatural, overly broad. We settled in the lounge. She retained her garment. She surveyed the space intently, perhaps appraising it or me. Hands stayed pocketed. Her gaze tracked my every minor gesture. "Do you reside solo?" "Yes," she nodded approvingly. Leaning nearer, an odd odor wafted chemical, akin to rubber or adhesive, not scent or perspiration. Her tone softened to a murmur. "I admire your throat. gentle contours. I chortled uneasily to lighten the mood. No reciprocation. She gazed until I averted eyes. Subsequent utterances carried weight, each term selected meticulously. Ever ponder the beneath of your dermis? Not particularly. You ought to. Folks overlook their loveliest aspect, the concealed stratum. Her demeanor shifted to eerie serenity. I attempted redirecting talk, but she ignored. She eyed my limbs like a meat cutter planning incisions, suggesting it was tardy and she depart. She merely grinned. You welcomed me. Thus, I remained till completion. Silence enveloped us briefly. Television droned a silly program, illumination dancing on her features. Then I noticed dermal borders mismatched subtly. Near mandible, a subtle join nearly unseen without scrutiny, like ill-fitted makeup adhered tautly. Nausea surged. I rose. Time to leave. Immobile, she cocked her head, aware of serpents molting outdated hides. They rupture it segment by segment. From her attire, she extracted not a blade, but a slim shaver, gleaming metallically. She arose deliberately, expression vacant, unemotional, retreating to the cooking area, mind racing for defenses. Pulse thundered blindingly. She pursued unhurriedly, trailing the tool over her limb. Epidermis flaked mildly, exposing rosy, moist underlayer. Grinning, painless, lovely, merely desire it. Her advance caused my stumble via furniture. The edge grazed my upper arm shallowly, eliciting a yell. She bent, dabbed the crimson fluid, eyeing it reverently. Your hue compliments me. Clutching the injury, I fled to the passage. She trailed leisurely, footwear tapping gently. Glances rearward showed her nearing, composed, beaming. Reaching the washroom, I barricaded inside, compressing the laceration. It stung. Respiration audible externally. Gentle tap. Avoid concealment. No intent to injure. Simply to don you. Barrier shook. Murmurs in incomprehensible tongue ensued. Retreating tremulously, scanning for weapons. Scissors were nearest. Portal fractured, timber cracking. She forced a breach, countenance semi-revealed. Illumination highlighted discrepancies, varied shades, marks, consistencies. Mismatched entirely. Left side masculine, coarser ocular regions silkier, juvenile. Barrier exploded, I thrust the blades. They pierced her visage. Her outcry was furious, not agonized. Reeling, grasping the sight, a tear resembled a facade. Flap dangled, bearing crude tissue. She averted, compressing as if dreading exposure. No delay, I escaped. Entry remained ajar from arrival. Dashed outward, wounded, shoeless, paused in corridor. She framed in threshold, cradling features, quivering. Tone infantile. Avoid gazing, dare not gaze. She hunkered, shielding cranium babbling. Descended steps, emerged onto vacant avenue. No vehicles, no souls, solely my gasps. Persisted fleeing to nearby shop. Attendant gawked, astonished. Instructed police contact. Upon arrival at residence, she lingered positioned, wailing hysterically, imploring officers avert sight, required sutures for arm. Physician noted blade pristine, surgical quality. Expertise evident, not debut. Despite detention, no admissions, zero connections. Incarceration brief. Lingering ache in scar. Certainty, reunion imminent. I work night shift security at a warehouse just outside Detroit. Dead hours, empty parking lot, nothing but the hum of the gate motor and the taste of burnt coffee. Nobody comes around, just me, the silence, and my phone. One night, the guy I share the shift with, Rob, leans over and mutters, "You ever get bored enough to want something real bad?" He wouldn't look at me when he said it, just stared straight ahead like he was reading something off the darkness. Then he gave me a code, BRL-197. No link, no name, just those 6 characters. Deep web, he said. You'll know it when you see it. Boredom won. I went home at 6 a.m., showered, slept 3 hours, woke up, and opened Tor. Dead links, trash forums, the usual fake Red Room scams. I was about to shut everything down when I found it. No title, no thumbnail. Just a single live feed labeled BRL-197. The camera showed a rusted metal door set into a concrete wall. Something dark and wet had leaked out from underneath and dried in streaks. The stream never buffered. It was crisp, too crisp, like it was being recorded in 4000 and pushed straight to hell. Nothing moved. Just that door. I left the tab open and stared for maybe 20 minutes. Nothing happened, but I swear I felt watched. Like whoever was on the other side knew exactly where my eyes were. 2 nights later, I went back. Same stream, same angle. Only now there was a fresh handprint on the door. Wet, red, still dripping. I watched longer this time. The camera angle shifted, just a couple of inches lower, like someone had picked it up and readjusted it by hand. No sound, no chat, no jump scares. Just the quiet feeling that the hallway behind that door had gotten deeper. The next night, the door was cracked open. Inside was a narrow corridor lit by a single dying bulb. The walls were cracked, stained, and every few feet there was a metal hook bolted into the concrete. One of them held a torn woman's blouse, ripped straight down the back. Blood dried across the collar. Still no audio except a faint, repeating drag, like something heavy being pulled across the floor very, very slowly. Every night the camera crept a little farther down the hallway. Never fast, just a few feet, like someone was walking with it in their hand, patient. Night 5. A plastic bucket appeared. Inside were women's things, scarves, sandals, cheap jewelry, hair clips, all stained. Then the hooks stopped being empty. The first time I saw a body hanging from one, barefoot, ankles tied, swaying just enough to prove the air was moving. I forgot to breathe. The skin was swollen, the face unrecognizable. A timestamp popped up in the corner, 4:12 m. Ist. India Standard Time. I searched the timestamp, and the details I could make out. Took me 2 hours to find the name, Khalib Kumar Gangrar, the butcher of Bareilly. 9 women strangled with their own clothes in sugarcane fields outside Bareilly, Uttar Pradesh, arrested in mid-Minus 2024. Case closed, except the stream was live. A week later, the shelf appeared on the left wall. Lipstick tubes lined up like bullets. I still remember the 4th one from the left, deep red, cap chewed like someone had bitten into it in rage. 3 nights after that, the newest body on the hook had that exact shade smeared across what was left of its mouth. Then one night, the feed showed a different room. Cement walls, no windows. A woman tied to a metal chair, wrists bound with a torn dupatta, mouth gagged with another scarf. She was alive, breathing fast, eyes darting to something behind the camera. Heavy boots started walking. Slow, measured steps. The woman started shaking. The hand that came into frame was scarred, knuckles cracked, fingernails black with old blood. It rested on her shoulder like it owned her. Then the other hand lifted a strip of cloth twisted into a noose and held it up to the lens as if showing off. Static. Feed cut. Next night, the chair was empty. The restraints were cut, fresh drag marks across the floor. A plastic bag on the table held a braided scalp, hair still tied with a red ribbon. The camera never stayed still anymore. Someone was carrying it. 3 nights later, I got an email. No subject, no sender I recognized. Just an attachment, a still from the stream. Except now the camera was pointed at a concrete wall with my full legal name written on it in dripping red paint. I deleted it, emptied the trash, shut the laptop. 10 minutes later, the file was back. Bigger. The next email had a 10-second video. The man, no mask, no hood, held up my Michigan driver's license to the lens, stared straight into the camera for the full 10 seconds, didn't blink once. I stopped going to work, bought a burner phone, packed 1 bag, drove west, paid cash for everything, changed burners every state, slept in the car. At a motel in New Mexico, I turned on the TV for noise. The HDMI input lit up by itself. The stream loaded. Same feed. The camera was moving now, walking down a hallway toward room 206. My room. I left everything, wallet, phone, keys, ran barefoot into the desert. Kept running until the sand tore my feet open. Months off-grid. No screens. No real names. Libraries for maps, handwritten directions. I thought it was over. Last week, public library in Arizona. Some kid beside me watching YouTube. The video glitched for half a second. One frozen frame, the metal chair, the shelf of trophies, and hanging off the edge, my old Michigan license plate. The one I reported stolen 6 months ago. They say the butcher of Bareilly is in prison. They're wrong. The stream never stopped. Someone else is carrying the camera now. Or maybe he was never caught at all. You don't find BR-197. It finds you, and once it knows you're watching, it starts walking. I never should have bought that laptop on the dark web. It was 3 a.m., the usual sleepless spiral. I was deep in the markets, flipping through listings for cracked software, burner accounts, anything to kill time. Then I saw it, an old ThinkPad, black chassis, scuffed corners, listed for almost nothing. Perfect condition, minimal wear, previous owner no longer needs it. No reviews, no seller history, just a wallet address and a single photo. Something about the photo felt wrong. The screen was on, but the reflection in the dark display showed a room I didn't recognize. I sent the coins anyway. Stupid. 3 days later, it arrived in a plain box. No return address. The machine was heavier than it should have been. When I opened it, the hinges creaked like they hadn't moved in years. It booted straight to desktop. No login, no password. Just a handful of folders and one file in bold red. Do not open, I laughed. I've been rooting boxes since I was 14. A little reverse psychology file name wasn't going to stop me. I double-clicked. The screen went full static, harsh white noise blasting from the speakers. Then it cut to black. A single candle flickered on screen. A figure sat cross-legged in front of it, face hidden under a hood. He was chanting, low and guttural, in a language that made my ears itch. After 30 seconds, he looked up, empty sockets where eyes should have been. He stared straight through the camera, straight into me, and smiled with too many teeth. The video ended. The laptop shut itself down. I told myself it was just a well-made creepypasta. Nothing more. Next morning, my phone was exploding. Friends I hadn't spoken to in years, family group chats, even my ex. Everyone asking the same thing. Are you okay? Why did you send this? Attached to every message was a video of me in my living room, standing on a chair with a belt around my neck. The timestamp was 2:14 a.m. exactly when I'd been asleep. In the clip, I kicked the chair away. My body dropped. My face turned purple. Then the video looped. I never filmed that. I've never even owned a belt like that. I was still staring at my phone when the doorbell rang. Stella, my girlfriend, stormed in crying and furious. She threw her shoe at my head, screaming, "Explain this," and shoved her phone in my face. Another video, me on a beach with some woman I've never met, her legs wrapped around me, laughing like we'd known each other forever. I've never been to a beach in my life. By noon, my parents called. They'd received a news article about me getting arrested for DUI, complete with mugshot. Except the photo was taken in a precinct I've never been to, wearing clothes I don't own. I spent the whole day trying to convince everyone it was deepfakes hackers, some sick prank. Then I looked at the laptop again. All the original folders were gone. Only 2 remained. Do not open victims. I opened victims. A spreadsheet, hundreds of rows. Usernames from dark web forums I used to lurk on. People who suddenly stopped posting years ago. Photos, real names, home addresses, passwords, everything. My name was row 178. Status: IN progress. My folder contained screenshots of my desktop taken while I slept, photos of my apartment from angles inside rooms I never stand in, and a live feed of me sitting right there, staring at the screen from behind. I slammed the lid, carried the laptop outside, threw it in the dumpster, and drove over it 6 times. Sparks, cracked plastic, done. I felt safe for exactly 4 hours. When I got home, the laptop was sitting on my desk again, screen on, waiting. A new file had appeared. ANTHONYXE. I didn't touch it. That night, I found a thread buried in an occult forum. The cursed laptop. Same story, same red file name. Same fake suicide videos. The last guy who owned it wrote a single line before his account went dead. Confront it. Salt circle, candles. Make it show itself. I bought salt, black candles, everything the post said, drew the circle in my living room at midnight. Lit the candles. Opened the laptop one last time and read the ritual out loud. Nothing happened for a full minute. Then every light in the apartment died. The candles bent sideways like someone blew on them, but there was no wind. The laptop screen flared white. The hooded figure was there again, but now he was standing right on the other side of the salt line, inches from me. His face kept shifting, sometimes rotting, sometimes just a blank stretch of skin with a mouth. Cold breath on my neck. A voice that wasn't sound, more like pressure inside my skull. You opened the door, Anthony. You invited me in. I screamed the banishment lines from the forum. The figure hissed, clawed at the air in front of the circle, unable to cross. The laptop screen cracked on its own. Sparks flew. The temperature dropped so fast my breath fogged. I kept shouting until my throat bled. The figure shrieked, a sound like dial-up mixed with tearing metal, then collapsed into static. The screen went black. The laptop powered off and never turned on again. The candles straightened. The lights came back. It was gone. I smashed what was left of the machine, scattered the pieces in 3 different states, changed every account, every password, got a new phone, new bank cards, everything. 3 months of peace. Stella took me back after a lot of explaining. We went on vacation to forget. Last week, on the hotel TV, a notification popped up by itself, a single folder transferred over AirPlay from a device named ANTHONYPC. Inside was one file. Do not open, I didn't touch it. I threw the TV out the balcony instead. Some doors, once opened, never really close. I was the on-call doctor for the abandoned North Wing. 3rd floor, old psych ward, officially decommissioned since 2011. Everyone else had gone home hours ago, only me. A dying fluorescent tube, and the smell of bleach that never quite covers what's underneath. 2:17 a.m., the power cut. Not the whole hospital, just this wing. Lights dead, vending machine silent, heater off. My laptop screen went black and never came back. Phone, no signal, no Wi-Fi, nothing. The emergency exit signs didn't even glow. I stepped into the hallway to check the breaker. That's when I heard them. Footsteps, multiple sets, moving together, no flashlights, no voices. They weren't looking for the breaker. They were looking for me. I slipped back into my office and locked the door. Heart slamming so hard I could taste metal. Through the frosted glass, I saw 3 silhouettes pass, tall, dressed in black, moving like they'd walked this corridor 100 times. They started trying doors. One by one, methodical, kick, hinge cracks. Next room, kick, next. My turn came. The handle rattled once, polite. Then a boot hit the center of the door so hard the frame flexed. I shoved the desk against it, slid underneath, and tried to disappear. Boots stepped inside. Slow, patient. One of them crouched. I saw his eyes through the gap under the desk. Calm, almost bored. He smiled like he'd already won. I exploded out, rammed the desk into him, and ran. The chase was pure animal panic. Hallways I'd walked 1,000 times suddenly looped wrong. Every door I tried was locked from the outside. Behind me, footsteps that never hurried, never fell behind. They knew the layout better than I did. I rounded a corner, and one was already waiting, blocking the way. I crashed into him, fought like hell, took a fist to the ribs that dropped me to my knees. Another grabbed my hair, yanked my head back, and I felt the cold kiss of a needle against my neck. I elbowed, twisted, bit anything to stay conscious. The plunger went down anyway. Ice flooded my veins. My legs turned to water. They dragged me back toward my office. I clawed at the walls, leaving bloody fingerprints. Vision tunneled. The last thing I remember is them forcing the window open, cold air hitting my face, and me thinking, second floor, snow on the ground, maybe I survived the fall. I woke up in a proper hospital bed, tubes in my arm, a colleague sitting beside me looking like he hadn't slept in days. He told me security found me half buried in a snowdrift, hypothermic, rambling about men in black. They pumped me full of antidotes for whatever cocktail was in that syringe. Tox screen came back with compounds they still can't identify. Police took my statement, promised extra patrols. Everyone called me the luckiest man alive. They have no idea. You see, I knew those 3 men. I'd hired them for years. I ran a very private service out of that abandoned wing. Terminal patients who wanted to disappear. Runaways nobody would miss. Sometimes healthy ones with no family. I'd stage the feeds, control the cameras, sell the tickets on the deep web. Real suffering, real endings, real money. Millions. Those attackers weren't random. They were white hat hackers who finally traced the streams back to me. They came to shut the operation down and drag me out in cuffs. I was 2 days from vanishing with the cash when they showed up. They failed. I jumped. They didn't follow. They couldn't risk being seen carrying an unconscious doctor out the front door. Now I'm the poor victim, the survivor. The police are hunting ghosts. The hospital gave me paid leave and a GoFundMe. My colleagues bring me soup. And tonight, when they all go home and the new wing quiets down, I'll open the burner laptop I keep taped under this bed. The stream is already live. New room, new chair, new client who paid in crypto and signed the waiver. The show goes on. You thought you were reading a survival story. Cute. Sweet dreams, watcher. I always need fresh talent. I was the on-call doctor for the abandoned North Wing of St. Jude's Memorial. 3rd floor, old psychiatric block, officially condemned since 2011. The rest of the hospital had gone to sleep hours ago. It was just me, one flickering fluorescent tube, the smell of old bleach and older blood, and the endless ticking of a wall clock that had never been right since they shut the place down. 2:17 a.m. Everything died at once. Not the whole building, just this wing. Lights snapped off like someone threw a master switch. The vending machine went dark. The heater stopped rattling. My laptop screen went black and refused to wake. Phone, 0 bars, 0 Wi-Fi. Emergency lights didn't even glow. The corridor outside became a tunnel of pure black. I stepped out to find the breaker box. That's when I heard them. 3 sets of boots, moving in perfect sync. No flashlights, no radios, no hurried panic like maintenance guys. Just calm, practiced steps that knew exactly where they were going. They were hunting. I slipped back into my office, locked the door, and dragged the desk in front of it, heart hammering so loud I was sure they could hear it through the walls. Through the frosted glass, I saw 3 silhouettes glide past, tall, black tactical gear, faces hidden under balaclavas. They weren't hospital security. They weren't cops. They moved like ghosts who had walked these halls 1,000 times before. They started checking rooms. Kick. Wood splinters. Clear. Next room. Kick. Clear. Methodical. No wasted motion. My door handle turned once, slow and polite. Then a boot hit the center panel so hard the frame cracked, and the desk jumped an inch. I dropped to the floor, crawled under the desk, and tried to become nothing. Boots stepped inside. Heavy, deliberate. 1 set stopped right in front of me. The man crouched. I saw his eyes through the gap calm, almost bored, like he did this every night. He smiled the way a butcher smiles at a cow that finally stopped running. I exploded out from under the desk, rammed it into his chest, and bolted. The chase was pure animal terror. Hallways I'd walked for years suddenly twisted wrong. Every exit door I tried was bolted from the outside. Behind me, the footsteps never hurried, never fell behind. They knew every turn, every dead end. They were hurting me. I rounded a corner and slammed straight into the second man. He didn't even flinch. A fist like concrete buried itself in my ribs. Air left my lungs in a silent scream. Another grabbed my hair, yanked my head back, and I felt the cold kiss of a syringe against my jugular. I bit, elbowed, clawed, anything to stay awake. The plunger went down. Ice flooded my veins. My legs turned to wet concrete. They dragged me back toward my office. I left bloody handprints on the walls. Vision tunneled to pinpricks. The last thing I remember is them forcing the window open, snow blowing in, and me thinking, 2nd floor, deep drift below. Maybe I live through the fall. I woke up in a proper ICU bed 3 days later. Tubes in every hole, machines beeping. A colleague sitting beside me looking like he hadn't slept since the 90s. Security found me half buried in snow, hypothermic, babbling about men in black. Talk's screen came back with a cocktail of sedatives no lab could fully identify. Police took a statement. Hospital put me on paid leave and started a fundraiser. Everyone called me the luckiest doctor alive. They have no idea how wrong they are. You see, I knew those 3 men. I paid them. For 6 years, I ran a private service out of that condemned wing. Terminal patients who wanted to vanish. Runaways nobody would miss. Sometimes perfectly healthy people with no family and fat crypto wallets. I staged the rooms, controlled the cameras, sold access on the deepest markets. Real suffering, real endings, real money, millions wired to wallets that can never be traced. Those attackers weren't random psychos. They were white hat hackers who finally traced the streams back to me. They came to shut the operation down and drag me out alive for the feds. I was 48 hours from disappearing forever with every cent when they breached the wing. They failed. I jumped. They couldn't risk being filmed carrying an unconscious doctor through the lobby. By the time they ran downstairs, I was already a frozen lump in the snow, playing possum until real security arrived. Now I'm the poor, traumatized victim. The police are chasing ghosts. The hospital gave me a hero's welcome and a corner office in the new building. My colleagues bring casseroles and sympathy cards. Tonight, when this ward quiets down and the last nurse does rounds, I'll pull the burner laptop from under the mattress. New room, new restraints, new client who paid 7 figures in Monero and signed the digital waiver. The stream is already live. The chat is filling up. Bids are climbing. You thought you were reading a survival story. You thought you were rooting for the good guy. Adorable. Sleep well, watcher. There's always room for one more on camera. I won. Good night.